Do you mind? There's something to control. Monarch. An interesting subject, and quite awash with names, faces, places, dates, and the apparent programming. But it was suggested somewhere that it's not even as it seems. What is these days? But people thinking there is a secret mind control program going on within the not-so-secret one in society serves a purpose of extra manipulation of thought to seem as though you are all-powerful, to create paranoia. And decades after it was apparently running, it still gets talked about, MKUltra being the one I hear about the most. And it seems quite easy really, because lots of the people whose names pop up as allegedly tied to certain programs are in fact actors. So is it so hard to think that maybe those actors are also playing the role of themselves? You think they are not in character when seen in interviews or talking about their life, but it's easy to imagine they know the script, and props and family are provided to just make it seem authentic, just like they do in the movies. It's just an ongoing role. And if anyone gets caught out or goes a bit astray, it's put down to a mental breakdown, or that they were being controlled. Again, convenient and means the character can still remain in the public eye. Whether they are real people or not, or whether they are controlled or not, almost seems irrelevant these days. It's what they achieve that is of note. Being part of a massive emotive industry that feeds off of attention and energy as well as money. I've already mentioned it in Public Eye or Evil Eye, that it seems many waste their lives dreaming of fame and fortune that only seems to be bestowed upon certain people, with backgrounds that make them seem like normal folk to a point, but that also appear well crafted and again, convenient. But maybe I'm just too cynical, as has been said before. But I just blindly believed it all before, because it took no effort on my part, nothing to think it through because it seemed perfect. But that's the problem. On the TV and through mediums of media, it all seems perfect. Even when it's a disaster, it goes exactly as it should. Not in real life though, on the ground in everyday trials and tribulations. I wonder if that's added to society being weirder than it should. People trying to emulate the perfect they see on TV or read about, and it just isn't attainable. Despite how easy it may look or is made to look, the reality is often not that at all, and I guess can lead to a problem for some, where expectation and reality fail to meet. Or just maybe there are a few who really do make it, and strike it lucky as they say. I would like to think so, but it's looking less likely. But I guess even the fact that I give it time and thought means it's worked to a point. Maybe the mind control isn't supposed to be on the celebrities that get discovered or uncovered. Perhaps it's us that are the unknowing ones, having things planted in mind and things to trigger us when required by those very people we are supposed to feel sorry for, who we are told are being controlled. A truth wrapped in a lie, of which there are many. So I guess it's down to each of us to work them out as best we can. Wouldn't it be nice if life was just life, without all the mystery, cloak and dagger crap to wade through? I get the feeling there are other exciting, mysterious things we should be getting on with. Deceivers or just entertainment? It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Playing make-believe and pretending to be someone else, with costumes, scenery, makeup, and adopting a different persona. People are convinced of what they see. Suspending reality for a moment or a short time to be immersed in the fakery, your own brain playing along and helping to create and sustain the illusion. But where does that illusion end and reality really begin in some people's minds? It's been noted for years how some people struggle to separate the two, often thinking about soap operas and storylines as if they were real, thinking about the characters as if they are real, and often taking influence from these constructed lives to learn about their own. Not always in a good way. Don't get me wrong, people don't need to watch constant drama to become it. Some people are genuinely a whirlwind of instances they create and cannot manage effectively, and mayhem usually follows. But the television portrayal of it is a constant and exaggerated version of that. Following soap operas though, came the boom in reality TV, Big Brother, aptly named, popped up at a turning point, with others quickly following. It must have been realised by the behaviour department that although people could be manipulated and influenced with completely fictional characters, pretending those fictional characters are real people was an interesting twist, and one which was obviously of benefit. And that's where I realised that's what we had anyway. The people now deemed celebrities have been paraded here and there for quite some time, where apparently we are shown moments in their lives, their ups and downs, romances and disasters, etc. off screen, revealing things from behind the scenes and closed doors, as if you are being allowed to glimpse their real world, making them the soap opera when acting, then reality TV when not. Which leads me to one actor in particular, who has stood out recently more than most for his apparent revealing of his issues surrounding his career and thought process towards the system of entertainment. But it's not a new revelation to me, and isn't to many others, I suspect. What he thinks he is revealing, though, is to tell us how the person we think is the actor is also a role being played. Where I had to kind of chuckle and think, no shit, Sherlock. Scripted and contrived for purpose and effect, as they all are. But that particular actor, Jim Carrey, has an interesting catalogue behind him, much of which I have enjoyed, I shall admit, because there is something else there, beyond the zany expressions and overdone presentation, which is what made him seem like a character for the longest time anyway. Some of the films seem to display an extra tone to them. The Mask, Cable Guy, Batman Forever, Liar Liar, Truman Show. Some of the others have things too, but those are a little trailed towards the persona for title of them and content. And the first one being a strange concept, of a mask you put on, with it having its own life force and personality, taking you over and being all the things you ever wanted to be. Seems like a possible analogy for AI, or what they have now called your avatar, an online personality you create and nurture to show the online world what you want to be, hoping that maybe you will become it in real life, but not noticing how you become more and more part of the virtual existence, because that is where you can be the you that you think you are. But is it you? With talk of AI becoming more progressive within social environments, there being holographic generated imagery of deceased people, and of programs keeping people's social media accounts alive after they have passed, with voice mapping and created images to help people with their grief apparently, letting the person live forever in the cyber world. Might sound advanced to some, but it sounds downright creepy to me, as if they are slowly erasing the real identities and lives of people, wanting them to be fully in a system, whether you are dead or alive. Seemingly that you will no longer have a choice about your consciousness soon, as well as your body. We have various types of masking these days as well, to confuse what we think we see and know. Prosthetic masks, painted as a development within entertainment, Hollywood being the main point where lots of things converge. But we know that if there are creations that would easily trick the eyes, then all sorts of agencies would have been employing them, way before entertainment. If something becomes public knowledge, then it has been around for more than an age. Information has been controlled for the longest time, since they worked out to open a patent office, to intercept all the ideas and inventions that creatively flow through people. And that leads to a very bottlenecked version of what should be, and I guess I would call it a masked reality. Things feel stunted and held back, because they are. As if all you have to do is open the gate and everything can get through together and spread out and grow naturally. Instead it's contained, separated into different lanes and holding carts, herded into dusty rooms to sit and wait, breaking the flow of energy and creativity and changing it into frustration and confusion. That's why they have so many hoops to jump through to be able to achieve anything, or be anything, or to want anything. People end up spending so long trying to fight and change the system that they never get to the potential they are being held back from, but still end up being part of it, as everyone does. But that doesn't mean we should stop imagining or planning for a better way. One big pie. Just wanting a piece of the pie, as they say. But what if that pie was just a hollow pastry shell to start with? that had potential to be great and would sell over and over again. It just needed filling with a tasty, tempting filling to bring the customers and the money in. And if that same pie could be sold over and over again, you wouldn't want that pie to disappear, would you? Like the bucket that refilled with water, or gold, or whatever the old story decided would be an everlasting flow of. And let's imagine that empty pie shell is the music and entertainment industry, and the filling is all the artists and creatives that fill it, making it an everlasting pie. In this analogy, the artists are the pie filling, the industry is the pastry shell, and the people wanting a piece of it starts at the top and works its way down. The executives who sign the deal, the extras that get employed to manage and look after the artist, then the family and friends, then the fans. Everybody wants a piece, and not always with the intention of taking it all. Some people do end up with good people around them because they chose well, or their families are genuinely loving and supportive, and not vampires like the other types. We should all know by now that there is something quite sinister occurring within certain industries, and the entertainment one has been part of many lives for decades and is no different. Recently brought more into the spotlight by the Princess of Pop, and a strange legal stranglehold her family had placed upon her. I realised after the first public meltdown that it would be used against her, as with all of them, and anyone who is not playing the game or by the rules. My articles, Are You Not Entertained? And A Witch, How Convenient, touch upon how easy it is to label someone as unstable, to discredit them, or as a way to control them, with opposition mentioning another recent celebrity scenario, showing the methods in action of how people publicly weren't quite buying it, noticing a pattern and certain names that seem to pop up time and time again in similar cases, being the behind the scenes driving force in most cases, feeding things to the media for them to fuel the flames of influence, to help and to hinder people depending on the desired outcome. Make or break you, as they say. And many have been broken along the way, not all with us anymore, and some a different person to what they were before. And sometimes I used to think they carried on performing for an audience because they had to, part of the contract, etc. And if you were being held captive in a performing world, then just as the circus animals get let out of the cage to do their routine, so are the human counterparts. I see the management teams and other vultures as the ringmasters and side acts to keep the main attractions in line. Like the cartoon Dumbo, where it was realised that elephant could make more money than all the others. They then took steps to enrage the mother, take the child, and groom it thereafter for their own benefit. The people cheer and clap, paying their ticket price, and applaud the circus for finding such talent and letting them see it. Not then seeing how after the lights are off and the audience has dissipated, the animals get led back to their holding pen until next they are needed. It isn't nice when you see it like that, knowing that having a special talent actually makes you a target for unscrupulous people who see you as a gravy train and a cash cow, and ultimately just a commodity. Like Pinocchio too, mentioned in my article Being Real, of luring children to a pleasure island with promises of whatever they wanted to hear, so they could be trafficked into a sinister world of corruption. And with all the mainstream outlets seemingly pushing a more sexualised landscape generally, but especially for children, one can only presume the profit margins are just too high for them to keep it as an undercurrent. General conditioning is being rolled out with the hope of luring new generations towards a pleasure island. But as with the fictional one, it is their pleasure and greed it is there to satisfy. And it seems that it has been there the whole time, as a sideline to these forms of entertainment, covered in my piece Face of a Clown in Storytown, with theme parks, carnivals and other places they say are for children. I used to think it weird even before I knew, that one minute children are being sent down mines and up chimneys with the Victorian saying, children should be seen and not heard, to suddenly having very expensive projects constructed for them and their amusement. And as they wouldn't be able to afford them themselves, adults would also have to have a change of mindset, that children needed to be entertained and taken to these places, to learn to trust them, and things dressed as characters playing a part, merging fantasy and reality to create a very odd thought process in some, it would seem, where it is almost hypnotising and allows a certain type of person to get to you, after you have been carefully groomed, programmed and conditioned to stare at the pretty lights and faces, listen to the music and let yourself get swept away into the dark and murky world of illusions. Getting a bad rap. It seems certain parts of the music industry are falling under the scrutiny of the thinkers, where it seems so many branches of the entertainment industry have been set up for more than just the purpose of letting you unwind and escape the banality of what we used to call normal life. I see the rap industry currently being discussed as part of a well-laid plot to destroy the black youth of America, to steer the minds of a certain generation towards the agreed-upon result. 2 of my articles are also relevant here: Consumerism and The Beautiful Mice, showing how they have used a great deal of time and resources to work out what motivates us, what drives us, and ultimately, what can distract and destroy us. And they provide the means, just as we saw in recent riots over there. Piles of bricks and things to use were dropped off just before protests. Lucky, eh? Just as with the above, after encouraging and exposing the youth to concepts of drugs, guns and violence, suddenly those items started to become readily available. And maybe that is where there is a definite link between music, games and movies being more of an influence than we would like to realise, where they don't just tell you and give you the means, they also show you, through well scripted and edited versions, of what you may be unable to imagine or create yourself. I've already wondered about music scenes helping to push society along in certain ways, realising that the whole thing is an intricate web. Another article is also underway from a slightly different angle, but still music related. But in the UK, we had various crazes that now seem like part of it. The Beatles and rock scene, the punk movements, garage and the rave scene that followed, and all the others that made it, decided by huge corporations. As with writers and any creative artists, they are all hand-picked and groomed for purpose. If they are indeed even normal people to start with, we have had editors, censors, and multiple middlemen in the process for quite some time, deciding whether they will be useful, loyal, and part of the process to enthrall the masses and give them something to idolise, making vast amounts of money for said corporations in that process as well. But not just money, it gives you coverage, reach, and a certain level of control over people's mentality, the artists and the fans. As mentioned in One Big Pie, it's a sinister business when you start looking at it and into it, with no shortage of said artist exposing the mechanism of how it works. They are a commodity just like the rest of us, unfortunately, but with a higher price tag maybe of what they can generate for the corporations who thrive on other people's time, life, creativity and talents. And that's where music has been a huge tool for social engineering, knowing which frequencies inspire, which agitate or annoy, which ones calm you and make you feel relaxed. So nothing is ever by accident. No one ever makes it purely by chance and effort alone. The old saying of "it's who you know, not what you know" is still just as true as it was then. The gatekeepers and middlemen, editors, programme schedulers and censors always being there to ensure that only authorised personnel get through to that position of influence, to keep things as they are, and the wheels of industry and money keep turning and dragging people along with it. But it really does feel like change is coming. The mummers and the military papas. It seems the network of entertainment as we see it is part of a more complex structure that stretches back quite some time and covers many areas. For this angle, tracing its roots to a number of decades ago back to the 60s, where music became a more serious tool in the shaping of society, so the importance of who and when became paramount, not just for profit, but for steering the mentality of the young minds. And although it's been touched upon in Do You Mind, There's Something to Control, regarding the Monarch Project and overall brainwashing of subjects to deliver and perform as needed, there are deeper layers and infiltrators than maybe even I had imagined. It seems, though, that some of the most popular of their time all came from the same area, background and type of family. The Beach Boys, the Mamas and the Papas, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and countless others who all, interestingly, had military-serving fathers or connections, quite prominent ones in some cases. There seems to be many stories of artists meeting by chance, or just so happening upon their perfect counterpart to take the world by storm. Yet sometimes, the fairy tale story of rags to riches, which is designed to hook you in, often doesn't quite hold up under scrutiny, or being applied to real-life settings. Not to say that wonderful and marvellous things can't happen to people, but on the whole, it just seems very few and far between. Just a good story to keep people thinking it could be you, and to waste their life dreaming and trying for something they were always going to be excluded from. Public Eye, or Evil Eye, has already looked at the way the stars are portrayed and packaged for us to distract us from our lives by dreaming about having theirs. Even though sometimes even they don't have the life they are made out to have. It's just all part of the marketing ploy. And of late, another particular music scene is splitting at the seams, which I discussed in Getting a Bad Rap. Following on from the swinging 60s, the punk and rock 70s, and all the other scenes they saturated people with thereafter. Rap had its own hyper-aggressive frequency, which was then inserted into the mainstream. Things you can't quite hear or distinguish sometimes, but it's there and triggers you. It's what it's designed to do. To calm, annoy, bring joy or sadness, fear or aggression. Sounds and frequencies affect us greatly, and it seems that while we might not be privy to all their effects, others most certainly seem to be. Subliminal messages in music and TV are most definitely not new, just as the debate and ethics surrounding them isn't. But what is perhaps new is the reach they now have and different techniques and tricks to trigger people and crowds when required, with no real thought or awareness, just following the beat of the drum and being led by the Pied Piper as you were enticed down a dark, yet musical path.